Hey, what's up? If you're watching this video, you're probably having a really difficult time balancing a cinema camera with a super heavy lens onto your little tiny gimbal that probably shouldn't be supporting all this weight, but you're doing it anyway. So yeah, let's make a little video here about my little Canon C200 heavy lens Ronin S setup that I use pretty frequently. What's up guys, I am Danny Gevirtz and today we're going to be getting my Canon C200 with a heavy lens onto my Ronin S, which is like a little handheld gimbal, as you probably know. Yes, it is easy to get the C200 onto the Ronin S when you have light little, lenses that people typically buy for gimbal work. I have this light little 50mm and also have a light little 24mm, which is on the camera that we're filming this on. But that's not the purpose of this. I don't want to be shooting on little crappy kit lenses. I want to be shooting on nice cinema lenses when I'm flying on my Ronin S. Right now, I don't have an actual cinema lens on me as I typically rent them. So in order for demonstration purposes, I put on my Sigma 24-70, which is probably just as heavy as most cinema lenses, maybe even heavier. But adding all that weight to the front of your Canon C200, obviously it's gonna be very front heavy and it's gonna be very difficult to balance on the Ronin S. So I can't just put the Canon C200 with this heavy lens obviously straight onto the Ronin S, because even if I have it as far back as possible, it's gonna be hitting the back of the Ronin S and still might even be top heavy. So in order to combat this issue, you're gonna want to put counterweights on the back and bottom of your Canon C200. You can actually go to Amazon and purchase this small little base plate that was specifically made for this kind of situation. It's designed for the Ronin S, and it has these little screws on the back that you're able to attach little, extra weight, extra counterweights to the back of the Canon C200 to balance it out, to make it a little less front heavy. So see here, I have all these little weights that I bought from Small Rig. Pretty cheap, but it's really cool because these weights just screw right on to the cheese plate on the back of this little plate. Just like that. You can use these little weights to counteract the weight that's super heavy in the front and bring that to the back. So you can mix and match these. I have two 200 grams and two 100 grams. And I find that works pretty good for most situations for lenses that I'm using. Cool, so now that we have the base plate onto our Canon C200, we're actually gonna have to slide this on first before we attach any of the weights, because if the weights are attached beforehand, it doesn't slide in. So we're gonna go ahead and slide it in first. So before I even adjust any of the arms on the Ronin S or try to balance this thing out, the one thing that I try to do is make sure that I leave myself enough room so that when the Canon C200 tilts, the bottom is not hitting the back of the Ronin S. So I'm giving myself just enough room, and then I'm gonna lock my C200 in place right there. So see here how the C200 is just missing from hitting the back of this, and I'm able to tilt and pan pretty much as I would actually need to. Obviously I can't tilt all the way. That's the one issue with this method, with putting a heavy camera and heavy lens package onto the Ronin S. You're not really gonna be able to, make the most out of the Ronin S, because it is not meant for this. This range should be good enough for what you're doing. The only real downside for me is I'm not able to undersling it when I have a heavy camera and heavy lens on it. But here we are, just trying to make the most out of the Ronin S. Cool, now that we have that locked in, let's start adding our weights. I'll take my big 200 grams and I'll put them on the very outside. Then I'm gonna take my little 100 gram and put that in between the two 200 grams. Sweet, so now that we have the weights on, you can see that we're doing a good job counterbalancing the frontal lens adding a little more weight to the back so that this thing's a little more stable. Now we can go ahead and try to adjust the other arms to get this thing properly balanced. One thing that is tricky about putting a heavy camera and lens onto your Ronin S is, again, you're not going to be able to fully tilt your camera straight up and down. So it's gonna be very hard to adjust for this little band here. I don't really know the specific name of this band. It's gonna be hard to balance the straight up and down of the camera. But it's kind of easy to figure out that it's not balanced when it's not balanced, because as you can see here, when I tilt the camera up, it doesn't stay tilted up. When I have it tilted down, it doesn't stay tilted down. So that means I had to adjust something right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Cool, so there we go. Just a little adjustment right here. I didn't even have to flip the camera completely upside down to know that there was something wrong with this. I just kind of eyeballed it and did it myself. And see, when we leave the C200 in any tilt position, we're obviously seeing that it's not going anywhere and that our guy is pretty much perfectly balanced right now. Sweet, yeah, we're balanced, guys. We did it. We put this heavy ass lens on this moderately heavy cinema camera and we're able to balance on this little tiny gimbal. We should be really proud of ourselves. Let's talk about how I set up my monitoring for my Ronin S setup. It would be really sweet to just use the LCD screen that comes with the Canon C200. The issue is this little cable. Obviously it's not long enough. If I pan my camera too far left or too far right, this guy stretches out max capacity. And also the cord's pretty heavy, but they do make longer ones, but they're like so expensive. It's like $400 for a cord. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just put this guy away while I'm shooting on my gimbal. And I do own this small little HD focus. It's not like the best monitor in the world, but for gimbal work, it definitely gets the job done. It has a lot of cool features like focus assist. It has false color. It just has like a lot of cool little features. So yeah, let's get this guy attached to our Ronin S. As you can see here, I have this little cheese plate attached to the side of my Ronin S. It's something, again, made by Small Rig. Yeah, now that we have this little cheese plate, we're able to attach our monitor. I have this little arm thing, again from Small Rig, that I screwed right on. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach my small HD monitor. And the cool thing about this little arm is I can adjust my monitor to go any direction that I want. All I have to do is tighten it. I like my monitor to be kind of facing up because I'm typically looking down when I'm using my Ronin S. So unfortunately, this small HD focus doesn't actually have any SDI ports, which sucks about it. But my Canon C200 does have an HDMI port. So in order to connect my monitor to my Canon C200, I'm going to use micro HDMI to an HDMI cord. What's really great about this cord is that it's super thin, super lightweight. So anytime the camera moves, the weight of the cord isn't gonna drag the camera down, affect any of the balancing. So yeah. Definitely get yourself like a super thin cable when doing gimbal work. Isn't that crazy? We just balanced like a goofy like 8-ish pounds on this cheap little Ronin S. Technology is crazy. I say it every now and then, but can't say enough. We're really living in a great time to be filmmakers with just like the technology available to us. It just like blows my mind. But yeah, look at that. So yeah, obviously when you have like a really big build out with a cinema camera and a heavy lens, you're not gonna be able to use the full capabilities that the Ronin S has to offer, such as the undersling mode. As you can see, when I try to undersling my camera, this part, it's hard for you to see over there. But essentially the back of this is catching the top of the Canon C200. And I've tried like so many different ways to fix around it, but it's really just not possible, potentially. If you know how to do that, let me know. But yeah, you should really just be grateful that you're able to get such a heavy camera setup on such a light little cheap gimbal. So Yeah, technology's crazy. I just said it again, but we live in a great time to be filmmakers. All right, guys, that's it. We balanced the heavy camera with a heavy lens onto our Ronin S, and we did it with a smile on our faces. Hopefully, if you're having similar issues, this was helpful for you. If not, we did our best, and maybe I'm just not good at what I do. Cool. Talk to you next time, guys. See ya.